Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new edition of the Talkie Taka podcast. And as our viewers on YouTube might decipher, I'm not sitting in front of a wall. I'm outside today because I am carless. So I need to be here to pick up my kids early, etc., etc. So you might hear some traffic in the background or kids jumping around. Please excuse us for that. But having dispatched with the pleasantries, introducing our guests for today, Radhaji and RK. How are you boys? We meet after the City Arsenal game, the climactic occasion that we talked about for the season. That's happened. In fact, we've had a few games after that as well. How have you been, RK? What's your talkie point?
Hey guys, I can't afford to sit anywhere outside because it just stopped raining here. My talking moment of the week is Alejandro Garnacho getting his new contract and the pep talk that Ten Hag gave to Garnacho in front of his family, where he told that this is all because of your work and the work that you have put in, and you deserve it, and like like a normal pep talk, but in front of the family, which felt very nice to see. So that's my talking moment of the week.
Yeah, and I'll let you introduce Ashwin's talkie point as well, since he's not here, but he asked us to include it. I'll give you the honor of doing that as you're a fellow United fan.
Yeah, so that is one of my favorite moments as well. Though talking to you guys, I don't know the real motive now. But Ashwin's talking moment of the week was Ten Hag. I'll put it this way because it sounds better. Ten Hag taking the green and gold, flag or like the scarf from a fan and then taking it with him down the tunnel. That's Ashwin's talking moment of the week. It showed that Ten Hag is on our side, anti-Glazers.
I wonder what his Glazer related sentiments will be if it's Ratcliffe's offer that gets accepted. But I think that's a question for a later date. Radhaji, you had a full plethora of talkie points to decide from. What have you finally plumped for?
Yeah, I mean, in the interest of um, since we're anyway going to come to the Arsenal and Man City game, I'm not going to talk about that one in my talking moments. In a season that's pretty much dead and buried, we had a pretty interesting talking moment from the Liverpool game against Tottenham. I think all the good football and 3-0 start aside, nothing warms my cockles like seeing Richarlison take his shirt off, celebrate, do the duck dance, everything, and then finally, just 30 seconds later, Jota to go down the other end and score a winner. It's such a typical, like, as the Liverpool fans in Liverpool always try to make fun of Everton. They do so many Evertonian things, but you combine that with Spurs, and it's just the most Spursy thing that could have ever happened. 4-3 winning like that didn't really matter so much for our season, but it was really satisfying given all the whole dramatic celebration that Richarlison had. So yeah, that's my talking moment. Spurs being Spursy and Richarlison not catching a break even after changing colors.
Yeah, and I think he's got the ball in the net three times this season. First time scores, takes off his shirt, gets booked, goal ruled off for offside. Second time the same thing. Third time does the chicken dance, gets the goal confirmed, and goes on to lose the game in 30 seconds. So, as Spursy
I
as you
think
can be.
I think in the second occasion he got sent off. So yeah, it's just the most perfect blend for Spurs that you can ever imagine.
Yeah, RK might have a different definition or different account of Spurs being Spursy after the United game, but we shall get into it. My talkie point would be the Arsenal Chelsea game yesterday and Xhaka getting as many assists in a game as any individual Chelsea player has had this entire season. That tells you the state of the two clubs right now, and a reinvigorated Xhaka at Arsenal, and I have no clue what you even call what Chelsea are right now. On that amazingly positive and cheerful note, let's get into the title battle. So, Man City, inevitable as everyone has been calling them, as the twin RK has been jinxing all season, it's finally come to pass. They beat Arsenal, took over the lead Haaland's now got the record for most goals in a season as well. There's just no stopping this juggernaut, is there?
I mean, I think before the game, I was at 60-40. I think it was. Maybe it was 70-30. I can't remember anymore. But it's over now. It's all over. I was really happy that it came down to a shootout between the two teams. Um, Not very happy with what I saw from Arsenal. I think there was a clear level difference that came out, and I didn't expect that to happen during the game. I thought it'll be a close game, even though I expected Man City to win. It was their home game, and they are more suited to these kinds of occasions with their experience. But I expected more of a fight from Arsenal. Um, but I think Man City just really put an exclamation point in their season and everybody else's seasons, and just told everybody, listen, I know a lot of haters around probably addressing me, but they really shut everybody up. This was a performance to say, listen, all these pretenders that are coming and trying to punch above their weight, that's all great, but this is who we are. This is what we can do. Out of a bad season, they've just put together a run of games, and now they're running away with the title. As much as Pep tries to say it's not over, it's over. We can call it now.
Yeah, it's definitely over after that result. Completely one-sided game, and I think like the most arrogant or the most confident moment in that game was probably at the end where Haaland just let his braid loose. He ran around 5 minutes with that braid loose and then also scored a goal. I don't think anything signifies total confidence other than that. And then the guy has gone on to break the like all-time scoring record as well. So I mean, all in all, it's just a culmination of how they have integrated Haaland successfully into the team. We talked about it a lot, but over the past month or two, they have successfully integrated him, and they look really very convincing outfit at the moment with Haaland in the team as well.
Yeah, I think that was a real candidate for a talky moment of the week as well. I mean, that whole Viking hair down, head and shoulders model feel that was going, winning the title, get breaking the record for the most goals scored in a single season. All of that was just pretty incredible. Yeah, I think the perfect exclamation point on an exclamation point of a performance, that Haaland goal. Yeah, since then he scored a few more as well, so nothing stopping him now.
Would it have been better for Arsenal had this game happened like 6 weeks ago when they didn't have to think about, okay, we have to play Liverpool and then City is still there?
I think if it was before this sudden downturn, for sure, it would have been better because they were in really good form. But if you look at the form table right now, they're probably somewhere I'm going to guess around 8th to 12th. We can check that very quickly, but I'm sure that they're in the mid-table range. They've not had a good 5-6 games. So at this point of time, I think the lead up to the Man City game, I think there would have been questions on their confidence. There would have been questions on the importance of Saliba and how their defense is struggling without it. I'm sure there would have been a lot of self-doubt. And all of that would have fueled Man City's confidence as well. Not that they need any. They're pretty secure in the fact that they're the best team in the world, in the country. Hopefully that Real Madrid pull them down a few pegs on our behalf. But in England, I don't think there's any competing with them for the league. So yeah, I think definitely it was at the wrong time. Not to say that if it was 6 weeks ago they would have won. I'm not sure, but it would have probably been a closer contest.
Look, the first time that Arsenal and City played each other, and that was at the Emirates. Arsenal had just completed 19 games and they had got 50 points. And coming into that Man City game was the worst run that they had shown all season, where they lost to Everton and probably they drew the next match or something. So that was basically their three-game sequence, including the City game where they got 1 point. So I'm not sure if the impending City games are causing some kind of a mental flutter for Arsenal, because the same thing happened in Feb as well. The same thing happened now. You again look at these fixtures that they had coming into the City game. They drew against West Ham. They drew against Southampton. These are games where you don't expect any league leader to kind of drop points. So It's completely on Arsenal. I think they should have been, coming into both the games against City in much better momentum than they finally did. So I think I don't think 6 weeks back it would have, you know been anything different, because we can always look at the Feb fixture as a, proof to say that maybe Arsenal were overawed by facing City, given their past very poor record against them, and given that they always knew that City would be breathing down their necks. So, and the fact of the matter is that even in Feb they had that 8 point lead and they allowed it to become a very small lead at the end of it. But all credit to City. I was like they probably they have won 12 of their last 13 games and one draws. So that's like 13 games. You're talking of 37 points. That's, I mean, and that's the standard that we have come to expect from City, but it's so unreal.
Yeah, and I also found it a bit condescending from Pep. I think it was yesterday where he was like, Arsenal have finally achieved what their ultimate trophy is, to get back into the Champions League, so it's all good for them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a prick gonna prick, right? Like, we're just fresh off some nice prick behavior in the IPL here in India as well. You can never change. A leopard can never change its spots. Let's put it that way. I think Pep does believe that he is superior to everybody else in the league. I think he believes his team is superior. He got really salty when, rightfully so, there was a lot of criticism about the Manchester City backroom and their sponsorships and all the things, which was clear for the whole world to see that there's something really strange going on there. He got really salty, got defensive, started making cocky statements. So this has been a bit of a trend with him. He made a similar comment when Liverpool were challenging for the title as well, like a the underhanded jibe or a veiled compliment of sorts. This has been in his repertoire. Anyway. I mean, I don't really care so much. At the end of the day, it is true that Arsenal are not perhaps at the same, are not at the caliber yet to challenge and win a title, but they have definitely challenged them for a large part of the season. They deserve credit for that. But Arsenal, I think, like, what next now? I mean, when Arsenal had a little bit of the hoodoo against Liverpool, Arteta got the whole sound system on, playing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and they trained in that. I think they'll have to, like, maybe go back to the whole the COVID days and turn off all the sound in the stadium to practice on how it's going to be at the Etihad then for next season.
Does anyone even know what City's theme song is outside of Manchester? So, yeah, maybe crickets would work well.
I think that's
Yeah, I
just empty
mean,
seats rustling in the wind. But Radha talked about the wield compliments part. That's the thing which I found most condescending about whatever he said, because whatever the expectations of Arsenal at the start of the season, you got to give it to them that they were leading the table by 8 points, and everyone had a right to dream about, Arsenal fans had a right, and Arteta and his team had a right to dream about Arsenal winning the title. So I found that extremely, the way that he tried to give a compliment, but you could see that, bit of smugness on his face, and you knew that, he was taking their case. That didn't come off well at all for me. But yeah,
yeah, go
I'm
back.
hoping that, Sam Allardice proves his legendary status against him at the weekend.
Yeah, go back to Barcelona. I mean, all those shitty Barcelona were really insufferable at that point of time with their moral superiority, their footballing superiority. Yeah, so I think it's not the first time, and I am sure it won't be the last. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's why Pep, when he had this Barcelona Madrid phase where Jose was there, he could not get that feeling of superiority because Jose was in his prime as well, which is why I think he got burned out and he left Barcelona when he did.
Yeah, he
Anyway,
met his match. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
you don't play this game with Jose, and I think Jose really got under his skin. I remember that really foul-mouthed tirade that he had, where he just came out swearing non-stop as the Barcelona manager, and Jose really got under his skin. Yeah, but now maybe he'll meet his match, like RK said, with little Big Sam back in the Premier League. I'm sure that he thinks of Big Sam as a peer at the same level as him. So let's see how that pans out.
Yeah, we'll get to Big Sam in a bit, but carrying on from Arsenal and Man City, you talked about Spurs and Richarlison. What's happening there? Finally, some bite in the old dog, some fight back, getting a point against United, almost getting a point against Liverpool. While on the other hand, Chelsea is suffering again. And yes, listeners, I can hear the kids in the background as well.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to compare them to Chelsea, then sure, yeah, things are looking good. But I don't believe just at least in the Liverpool game. Of course, in the United game they did well, but in the Liverpool game they were trash. And if it wasn't for Liverpool just falling asleep at the wheel, handing the initiative back through some really poor defending, really poor like second ball winning, and just falling asleep basically. I don't think that game was anywhere near close. So yeah, I think Spurs were trash. I think they started off really poorly. They tried to play the whole let's not be expansive, let's be careful kind of thing. It didn't work out well for them at all. It looked like a team that had not trained that. Yeah, I think Ryan Mason on the side looks like a real like. Sure, I mean he's a small time guy. He doesn't look like a very impressive coach either. I think it's about time that they quickly move on from him. Not
Didn't
seeing too
you?
many people getting linked with the job. I just read Xabi Alonso yesterday. I mean that's really not at the top of the footballing pyramid that they're shopping from. Although I'm sure Xabi Alonso would be an interesting one. He has the potential, but he's unproven. So yeah, I'm not so convinced that Spurs are like in turning over a new leaf or anything of that sort. I think they just got lucky, perhaps in the Liverpool game, and they lost in the end. So not much to say about that. They were decent against United though.
From my perspective, Spurs were not at all impressive in the second half as well. It was the same thing which I also felt about United, that they completely slept off after going to 2-0 up. They just handed the initiative back, and of course, Spurs playing at home probably got some kind of momentum from the home support. But you could see that United players are not putting any pressure, uh, and not forcing or trying to force Spurs into mistakes, and that's how the pressure got built. I don't think it was anything structural, anything like superior about how Spurs were playing. So I mean, nothing really like for Spurs fans to feel encouraged about. And but having said that, the last few fixtures don't seem to be that cruel to them, so you never know that they might get some points. But I think Spurs season is more or less petering out now, so it's not really going to be harmful for anyone as such, like the teams who are above Spurs in the table.
Yeah, when it comes to playing against some possibly not very threatening teams, the three words you said just there, RK, I think will perfectly describe Spurs. You never know. They could be playing a championship team, a League One team. You just never know with Spurs. I think there is always a little bit of a crazy gene there. So yeah, I mean, I fully expect them to lose one of these games to a team that they didn't expect to lose to.
uh, like what is really worrying about that draw is more of United's mentality for me than Spurs playing well. Because if a team is in such a bad morale, losing game after game, lost the previous game so badly, where like their morale is probably at the least level possible, and then like they go down to you 2-0 at halftime, you would expect any good team to kind of take advantage of that and press home the advantage and try to score more goals, at least be more comfortable, control the game. And it was really befuddling for me that United didn't do any of that and just handed the initiative back to the team which least expected to be given the initiative back. So United, they are improving, overall there's a lot of things to be proud of, and we keep talking about that. But I think the mentality is where United need to take a massive step up. Even the Liverpool game, I thought Liverpool switching off, while probably Liverpool, you can argue, had lesser at stake than United. But it's also a bit troubling that at Liverpool at Anfield decided to give the initiative back, in that manner.
Yeah, I'm just being mindful that Radha said something similar about Arteta, as he's just said about Ryan Mason. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice, but let's hope not. But RK, I wanted to ask you about this 100 million kitty that's apparently going to be available to Man United this season in this summer, despite the Qataris coming in and Ratcliffe coming in. What's this about, and how does this impact possibly getting he who shall not be named Victor Osimhen coming into the club?
We are not dreaming that far for sure, not dreaming of any big money signings. I think United will have to find value, but uh, this is more about the debt which is piled up on the club. If any new owner comes in and they are able to immediately reduce the debt, the transfer budget would go up, is what I understand. But having said that, at 100 million plus sales, I think we expect the sales to be, I mean, we are a bit optimistic, obviously, which we always are at the start of every summer, but most fans do expect United to generate decent money from sales this season if players are going out. Even the likes of Maguire or McTominay, Fred, there are 6 7 players who can get decent money for the club. So if we are able to sell those 6 7 players, Dean Henderson is also one of them. We might be fingers crossed, but we might just be able to top around, let's say, 100 million in sales. But again, given the transfer history of United and how we sell, I think anyone would be legitimate to say that you're really dreaming, talking of United getting 100 million in sales. But as you rightly said, Swag, you talk of people like Osimhen, you even talk of people like Caicedo, who's valued at 70 million, 60 million, or the same goes for midfield players like Mac Allister, who United are also after, going by rumors. When you talk of an average value of 60, 70 million, and if you want to bring in 4 5 players, you immediately are talking of 200, 250 million transfer budget. So 100 million plus sales definitely sounds very tough, but let's see how we are able to generate money from sales. I think that becomes very important right now.
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe this bullshit like this. I've never once heard an accurate rumor about somebody's transfer budget being leaked in the news weeks before the it has never once been true, and I don't believe it whatsoever. Like as though if the right person, right move comes along, suddenly they won't make it happen. That's not how top clubs work. But broadly speaking, I think RK, if you're talking about getting 5 or 6 players of 60 million each, yeah, obviously that's not a one season start. Like it's not a one season activity, in my opinion.
Tell
I don't
me
think it
about
would be
it.
possible. I mean, let's not tell you about it. You're clearly the only club who doesn't seem to get the memo. Even Man City behaves reasonably decently in the last few years compared to what Chelsea have just done. But if it's 5 or 6 players that we're talking about, and all of them being of that level of 50, 60, 70 million, then it's definitely not a one season project. And it has to be not just from the fact that you don't have enough money, but exactly what's happening at Chelsea right now as well. You can't get such a large number of your core replaced in one season. I think it does cause a bit of chaos. Considering that there were 3 or 4 new people who joined this season, another 5 or 6 in one season looks like it'll be an entire starting 11 pretty much. So that's a bit of a worry. I think if it's like 3 guys who are like big important players and a couple of under the radar kind of players, I think that would be more likely, is what I feel. And that way, if you're talking about whatever numbers I've been talking about, which again I'm going to say I don't believe, but 100 million plus sales should be okay, I think, to figure that out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's more of 3 4 big signings and maybe 1 or 2 free transfers or under the radar or young players. That would even take your budget to 250 million in the current scenario. So United being able to replicate what they did last summer, I think becomes important. Talking of players, building a new fresh 11 is probably not completely what we have in mind, but you talk of replacing people who are not really contributing to the squad, or probably who can get you some budget. Like let's say you're talking of people like Dean Henderson, who's basically spent the season on loan. You talk of people like Maguire, who's not a good fit at all with the system. Same goes for people like Fred McTominay. So how do you bring in players to replace those, and those guys can then probably replace players like Ericsson. Probably shouldn't be starting every game. So, I mean, those are the kind of signings that we are looking at. And of course, as Swag pointed out, the striker is a very big, signing. So, those players put together, it comes to around 5 players that definitely United need.
No, so what I meant was no matter who you're replacing in the system, the players that you do sign are with a first team view, right? It's always that way. So if you're going to have 9, 10, 11 first team players over the course of 12 months, 15 months, that is a lot of churn. Yeah, so anyway, the point is like probably one 80 million guy and a couple of 50 million guys. And I think they'll be able to generate that kind of cash through sales, like 70, 80 million, I do feel is realistic given like obviously it's not easy because everybody knows that they're trying to sell as well. And the people that have high value, obviously United won't want to get rid of either. So, but it's not the most unreasonable budget to have, I would say. Anyway, but going by, if you go with somebody like Osimhen, then yeah, then things change. Then it becomes like a one and done kind of window that we're talking about. Like he himself will probably take off 120, 130 million if the numbers in the news are to be believed.
Yeah, I think I'm just reminded of this best ever transfer rumor that I read was Harry Maguire is feeling increasingly concerned that Eric Ten Hag doesn't have a place for him in his system. Like, Harry, didn't you get the memo?
Of course, a player who has won, 11 consecutive games and he talks about that to the press, he will feel heartened by, that like he's not being favored by the manager. So I can feel for Harry Maguire and how he feels right now.
Yeah, DSK, I think, said on the group that Harry Maguire will probably cost money to get off the books, but I think it might be crucial what you get for folks like Harry and Phil Jones, how much that contributes to the kitty. I think a club like West Ham or Nottingham Forest might be willing to pay like 30, 40 for them.
There is no chance in hell. And Phil Jones, honestly, like, come on, he's not going to get any money. But Harry Maguire, 30, 40 million, I don't think. Look, if somebody is like trying to make a statement and has no chance of signing Harry Maguire and wants to get them, like, the only person I can think of who fits that kind of criteria is Newcastle, and there's no way Newcastle want Harry Maguire. If they're making a statement signing, it's not going to be Harry Maguire. So there's no chance. I think 30, 40 million is a little unrealistic there, considering the last couple of seasons that he's had. Um, so yeah, but good 15, 20 million I think is realistic, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for people who come up from the championship or people who are there in the or teams who are there in the bottom half of the table who defend a bit deeper, I feel Maguire at 20 million odd would be like a really good signing to make. He's still not a bad player, but however, I just want him to shut up and just focus on his own game. He has shown enough evidence, despite all those 11 games, trash talk, winning sequence, etc., that he made to the press. When Varane and Martinez got injured and he played that Sevilla game, that was enough to understand if Maguire plays along with De Gea, this is what is going to happen. And poor Lindelof has been caught in his crosshairs. Without Maguire, Lindelof looks like a really good player.
Yeah, in fact, I think if I remember correctly, Michael Cox actually called him last season. He called him the underrated player. So they were getting an underrated 11, and he got him in a centre back. He said he's suffering because he's paid next to Harry Maguire. But we'll see what happens there. Radha, anything special to call out for Liverpool? The season seems to be chugging along to its natural conclusion,
Yeah,
just planning for
I
next
think
season.
all this is doing is giving back the Liverpool fan base some kind of faith that that you give this team enough time to train under this set of coaches and the manager, things do turn around. I think that's the only thing to gain for us this season. 9 points behind, well, potentially 10 points behind United and 9 points behind Newcastle with their games in hand and all that. I don't think there's any discussion of top four, even though there are people who are still saying that, hey, is there any hope and whatnot, and one of them might or might not be RK in this group as well. But all that is bullshit. I think the season's done for sure, but it's very important for us to show good performances. I mean, results also aside, but to show good performances after the season that we've had. And what I've seen definitely over the last say 5, 6, 7 games, the performances have been good. I think we're pressing the ball well. We're creating chances. I really like the attacking play with Trent in that central role. He's doing a great job of that. We have a lot of work to do to get the balance right defensively, but from an attacking standpoint, it's brought a new dimension to our play. So great, and it's not a coincidence that it's happened in the longest period of the season where we've had one game a week. Everybody's been able to train multiple sessions during the week, give Klopp some time, and of course getting your players back from injury. Luis Diaz is back. You almost forgot what a bloody amazing player that guy is. He's rusty as hell, and he's already exciting in the few minutes that he's played since he's come back. He just has this X factor that he just takes a player on, runs past them like they're just standing still. Amazing player. Diogo Jota is back, and he's got his scoring touch back again. So getting his important players back at the right time also has helped. All the problems of midfield are still there, so that's one to watch out for this summer. I think with the Trent positional change and with Fabinho playing slightly better now in the last 2-3 months, what does this mean in terms of the numbers that are coming in? It's I think I was thinking 3 people initially. Now I'm feeling it'll be 1 or 2. And I'm hearing that Milner is going to join Brighton as well. So he was probably our 9th choice central midfielder, which is it's not really adding much value to the squad. I mean, he's adding a lot of value to the squad, but from a playing standpoint, I don't think he's that high impact. But although I really love him and I wish him all the best, I think it's the right thing to do to start replacing people like Milner and, dare I say, start thinking about even the likes of Henderson. So yeah, I think it's about transition. It's about the next season now for Liverpool. So keep going, getting good results, getting good performances, more importantly, and then work on that central midfield turnaround in the summer. Yeah, that's about it. There's nothing much else to. No great insights or comments on the matches we played or the results, because it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, my concern is more about United's away form than, Liverpool necessarily overtaking United. I know that, United should by all accounts finish top 4 the season. They really don't have, any excuse if we screw it up from here. But looking at Liverpool's form and, the way that Liverpool finished 2 seasons back and the fixtures that they have left, it's not beyond imagination to say that, Liverpool can finish on 71. The main concern for United fans with the away form is, United should finish above 71 points, but can we do it or not, especially with Brighton and West Ham? I thought West Ham was a home game, but again, that is also an away game, and West Ham will probably still be in a relegation battle. So, yeah, if we get through that, then we will have 1 game a week. I won't be too worried, but as long as we are playing 2 games a week, these away games, bother United fans with our form.
RK is just clutching at
Sure, RK, sure.
any
Let's
straws he can find.
let's quantify this, swag. We're talking about 9 points in 6 games. I mean,
Because it's West
let's
Ham away.
just put this to bed, man. Come on, it's done.
Actually, I think before we move on to more interesting matters, just wanted to get both of your thoughts on Alexis Mac Allister. Both of your clubs linked to him, both of your clubs looking for a midfielder. Is there a spicy transfer battle approaching in the summer now that Jude is definitely not coming?
Yeah, see, from a Liverpool perspective, I think we tend to steer clear of the really high um, intensity transfer struggles. I think like Bellingham is the case in point. There was a lot of chatter, there was a lot of interest. The moment it became clear that it was going to become a shootout between Man City, Real Madrid, I think Liverpool just immediately took their head, and obviously the finances of the deal as well. I think Liverpool took their hat out of the ring over there. Mac Allister, it's an interesting one. I think profile-wise, he fits completely. I think we were all extremely impressed with his season at Brighton and especially at the World Cup. He was an outstanding player this season for both the teams that he played for. Um, he he will improve the energy and the running and also the box to box threat that we currently don't have. So he would be a good signing. I do feel, however, that the 2 attributes that I'm looking for in the midfielders that we get, one of them is a actual tackling central defensive midfielder that we should have, because Fabinho has not been very dependable, and there's no backup to him this season. The other thing is somebody who can arrive in the box and score 10 goals a season. I think that's a critical one, which is why the names I was looking at and getting more excited about were the likes of Mason Mount and some central defensive midfielders that we are being linked with. I don't for a second believe that Caicedo is going to be one of them because, like I said, I think Liverpool will steer clear of some of those which have a lot of interest in them. So I think he'll be a great signing, but I do feel that there are other attributes in our midfield as well that need to be sewn up, particularly the tackling. Number six, especially if we're going to do more of this Trent Alexander-Arnold switching to midfield, and while we have the ball, we need a much more mobile central defensive midfielder. So yeah, that's something that here to watch. I think, and we were linked with, we almost were we were in the discussions last year with Chouameni as well. So that suggests that we are looking for a midfielder in a profile like that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it would be a great signing if we pull it off. But of course, United is linked, Arsenal is linked. So I don't believe anything at this stage.
I was talking to DSK for our viewers, another of our friends who was there on the pod earlier but then quit. So, and we were talking of, whether he fits the United requirement for a number 8 or not. And, I was telling him that I am a very big fan from the World Cup itself to his work rate and how he passes the ball. And like, I kind of compare him to a Gundogan in some ways. I thought that maybe, Pep would be interested in replacing Gundogan with Mac Allister, the style that he plays, but obviously now it seems like it's Liverpool who is more in the front runner. I haven't read any strong rumors. I don't know if what you guys shared was a strong rumor about Liverpool, but I haven't read any really strong rumors about United being linked to McAllister yet. And I think United fans were also more impressed with Caicedo than McAllister in the FA Cup semi-final, because I think Caicedo was the guy who was picking up the ball from deep and doing all the forward passing. So but again, Caicedo, Arsenal were very very close to getting him. So probably they are leading any other team in that race as well. So of course, we don't know if there are any other players who fit that mold. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so see on McAllister, that the name you mentioned is exactly the midfielder that I want. I want an Ilkay Gundogan kind of midfielder who can, does all the box to box stuff, but also arrives and scores goals. I think McAllister is very similar to that, and he would be a great signing. But then I think that probably means we are not in the running for Mason Mount, who would essentially be competing for the same kind of role in the midfield. Caicedo is a totally different ball game, and while I think a person like that would be welcomed in our current predicament, I don't think Liverpool will get into that game. On the seriousness of it was a Fabrizio Romano nothing tweet, so it was absolutely no news. There was no additional information that was shared. It was some generic ass bullshit like, oh, Liverpool have shared the proposal with them, and while things are not closed, things are advancing, and the most generic transfer bullshit. I think he has a quota that every day he has to send out a certain number of tweets, and it seemed like one of that. So yeah, I don't believe any of that to be too seriously.
I don't want to move on from Liverpool without mentioning Klopp. Like two things that he did really like ruffled me up. So like the first one was I think was it Nunes who was planning to come on, and like what I learned later from Raza is that Alcantara was translating for him. So but like the reaction on Klopp's face looked like if I was doing it, would I get that kiss? So that was how it looked. And then of course the celebration in front of the fourth official and the fastest recovering hamstring in the world. Like some people are dicks like Klopp and Kohli, but you still just like them because probably they leave it on the field, unlike someone like a Gautam Gambhir.
No, I mean, this now you reminded me, this all through the week, that was going to be my talkie moment. And I've just completely forgotten it for this episode. But that celebration and the tearing of the hamstring is the most hilarious thing that could happen. I mean, it's never nice. I think he came out and apologized immediately for his behavior after the game. It's never nice to do that to the official. The fourth official wasn't the guy who was causing all the problems for us. It was the actual official, but I guess he was in front of him and he was angry and he did what he did and he regretted that immediately. But and he also said it was karmic justice that he got injured, and he's got the punishment, but that bloody referee is roaming scot free. So he said that in his post match, and he's going to get into trouble for it. So he's very likely going to get a stadium ban. It's currently being discussed, and he'll probably get a stadium ban soon. But yeah, hilarious moment. The karmic justice of it was really good to like. It was fun to watch. And he's not recovered, by the way. So in the last press conference as well, somebody cheekily asked him, "So Jurgen, any injury news from Liverpool? And on the how's the hamstring doing?" And he said that, "Yeah, lucky I'm not a player, but it looks like it'll be a 5 week kind of injury. So it looks like a hamstring, proper hamstring, but luckily he doesn't have to run."
So he should be back for pre-season then, all fit and fine and rested. Right.
Oh, he's fit and fine. He's fit and fine. He just has to stand there. He can't do any of his amazing gyratic movements and celebrations anymore. But yeah, I think that's probably all for the best.
Yeah. Finally, moving on to big old Sam. He's back. He's coming again for the title of being the best, in line with Pep and Klopp, as he's said earlier as well. I think I'll go back to second reference to Michael Cox this episode, where in zonal marking he mentions that when when he actually came onto the scene with Bolton, he did quite a lot of interesting things, quite a lot of fitness related activities, number crunching, etc., etc. It might just be that he's now time has caught up with him, but can he pull off something? I don't even know if he needs to pull off something because Leeds are not in the relegation zone as we speak. It's only on goal difference, but they're out of it right now. And it might just be that he ends up losing all his games and still not getting relegated. Apparently, he's going to get some 2.5 million bonus if Leeds don't get relegated. So I think I'm just happy that there are other shit clubs in the Premier League right now apart from Chelsea.
It's the worst. I I was talking earlier in the season to you guys about how it's amazing how there's not a single bad football playing team or manager in the league at that point. Since then, Dyche and now Sam Allardyce are back in the league. I really now Leeds are really my pick to go down. I do not want a Sam Allardyce team in the league. That guy is the most full of shit guy that you can ever see on a football field. I think 2011, 10, sometime around then, he said, "I don't deserve to be at Bolton and Blackburn. I should be at Real Madrid or Internazionale or something like that." And that he would win the treble every season if he was there. I
Sam
mean,
Allardici.
this guy, I have no patience for him. If we've been talking quite seriously about the likes of Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, Rafa Benitez, and their style of management becoming a little obsolete. I think Sam Allardyce's style of management was obsolete in 2008. After Arsenal figured out how to manage that bloody Bolton team, I think Sam Allardyce is done. There is no like upside for him, and I don't even I, I don't even know, has he had a successful keeping the team up in the league a stint recently, because I don't remember him doing that in the recent past. So if that is the case, then I mean, even that was his only calling card that, say, Roy Hodgson and the others are still extending their career with. I don't think he's been in the reckoning for a lot of those roles recently. So I'm not sure. Let's see.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
the but the thing I love most about that clip was to have that confidence when your next two games are Man City and Newcastle. I mean, that takes some real balls.
imagine if he actually pulls it off. Imagine if he beats Man City. Imagine the shit storm that would happen if that
You know,
happens.
if we can take points of Man City and because of which the title race, goes into the last day, respect to Allardyce.
Yeah, that'll be an achievement, but if it happens, we'll never hear the end of it because he will never stop talking about it for the rest of his life. So, yeah, I'm not very
He's
excited about that.
he's an amazing talker though. So and if you look at it, he's taken the pressure completely off the Leeds players because everyone is just talking about what he had to say. Sammy Lee isn't here because he's on jury duty. That is bad judgment on the part of the judge. to not release him, stuff like that. He's box office right now, and I think the final four games with him in charge of this Leeds team should be, at least the press conferences should be fun.
And an interesting point, though, in that when you said he's as good as Klopp and Guardiola, he also mentioned Arteta. So interesting. Arteta is now being considered at that level.
Arteta would consider himself in the pantheon of greats such as Pep, Klopp, and Allardici. Anyway, I think, listener, today I'll be handing over the quiz duties to Radha because Radhaji got a interesting take two on the Chat GPT AI quiz. So, sir, this is all yours. Please don't take
That's
revenge on
right.
me.
Taking over after an absolutely abysmal performance from Swag's GPT attempt, where some of his questions were like, "What does the E stand for in EPL?" and shit like that. I'm telling you, viewers, we're many decades away from artificial intelligence taking over the world. Let me read out the amazing question to you. Who scored the famous Aguero goal that secured the EPL title for Manchester City in the 2011-12 season? Amazing quiz question, which I eliminated. All right, I think with that we come to the end of it. Swag should hopefully be back indoors for the next episode, and we won't be hearing about a bunch of children screaming and throwing stones at Swag while he's at the park. And this week, do we have any big games to look forward to in the Premier League? Let's see what we've got.
Of course, Man City versus Leeds.
Yeah, well, the battle of the great managers, Sam Allardyce and Pep. Yes, I think Brighton are playing tonight against
Yeah,
United.
that's a big one.
That's a pretty good game. Newcastle Arsenal,
Newcastle.
that's a pretty good game as well. So Arsenal might just fall further in their race for the Premier League. So yeah, apart from
Also,
that, Everton have a tough game against Brighton at the weekend, or actually on Monday. So yeah, a couple of interesting.
Nottingham Forest against Nottingham Forest against Southampton should be a blockbuster.
Nottingham Forest against Southampton, proper some interesting games this week. We'll watch them. We'll make our notes. We'll talk about some random shit like Spurs, and we'll be back in a week. Have fun. See you.